what we are learning part 1, human excretory system. So what we are learning in previous class, 4 marks question, modes of excretion, ammonotelism, ureotelism and uricotelism, and LS of kidney, more diagram for important, diagram of kidney, LS of kidney is most important for 4 marks question, and essay type question, structure of kidney and structure of nephron. We are already seen in previous class. Those who are not listen previous class, please listen that class. That is very easy to understand this class, right? So today we are continuation part 2, human excretory system, and conclude this class with this topic. And in this topic, one essay question is there. That is the human excretory system, how can urine formation? So today we are learning about the urine formation. This is the one expected essay question in ITE examination. So right. So in general we have remember 2 points. So one is the where is the excretion can be done. So answer students please. Okay, very good. The excretion can done in the kidneys. Okay, especially in nephrons. Very good. And the second one, how to urine can be formation. So this is not easily say that answer. So in this topic we are learn how to urine can be formation, right? So today concentrate Nana. So today we are learning about the essay question, how to urine formation in human beings, right? So in each and every kidney, so how many nephrons can be present on manaki? Approximately 2 millions of the nephrons can be present. Each kidney carrying of 1 millions of nephron. So these nephrons are the structurally and functionally unit. So in this structurally functionally unit in this kidney, so this kidney and the urine formation can be occurred in that nephron. So now we are observed that in 3 stages the urine can be formation. So what is that 3 stages? One is the glomerulus filtration. One is the glomerulus filtration, and these are also called as ultrafiltration. And the second one is the selectively reabsorption. And the third one is the tubular secretion. So these are the 3 main headings in this essay question. So now we are studying about the first one is the glomerulus filtration. What is glomerulus filtration? So now we are seeing in that diagram. So this is the structure of one nephron. So in this one nephron, so first part is called as glomerulus. So in this glomerulus, so which type of artery can be entered? So one is the density or large main efferent arteriole. So efferent arteriole can be entering into glomerulus, and efferent arteriole can be come outside to the glomerulus. So efferent arteriole can be entering into glomerulus and efferent arteriole out of the glomerulus. So in this glomerulus we have 3 stages can be seen. So what is that, Nana? So in this efferent arteriole, the blood flowing is very with the pressure. So how much pressure can be done? So the blood hydrostatic pressure 60 mmHg. So these 60 mmHg in that efferent tubules, the blood flowing in that pressure 60 mmHg. So against to the 60 mmHg, so these blood colloidal osmotic pressure 32 mmHg against to the hydrostatic pressure, and one more is there against pressure, that is called as capsule pressure. So how much capsule pressure? 18 mmHg. So total against to the hydrostatic pressure 32 mmHg and 18 mmHg, total 50 mmHg reversible or against to the 60 mmHg. And how much remain, Nana? 10 mmHg high remaining in the glomerulus. So in this general high to low level is the transport can be occurred. So in this remaining 10 mmHg easily transport with the help of gill slits in the glomerulus that can be entering into next part, that is called as capsule. So in this capsule, so in this urine formation, the scientist Ludwig can be explain this urine formation, and the importance of the capsule can be explained by the William Bowman. So that's why the name is Bowman's capsule. Clear, Nana? Next, so we are seeing that each and every kidney for 1 minute. So in that 1 minute, approximately 125 ml of the blood can be purified to kidneys. So just to remember, so for 1 minute 125 ml of the blood can be purified. So for 1 day 180 liters of the blood can be purified. So how much blood can be purified in that blood? Just imagine. So next one. So in this way 180 liters per a day blood can be purified, and in this way 99% of the blood can be reabsorption from the nephrons. So that is called as selectively reabsorption. So together selectively reabsorption and tubular secretion is together called as counter current theory. Okay, so right. So now we are going to substances. So the importance of these substances that can be divided into mainly 3 types: high threshold substances, low threshold substances, and a threshold substances. So which are the our body need maximum level or higher level, that is called as high threshold substances. Example, glucose is important for our body, and amino acids also important for our body, and proteins also important for our body, and vitamins also important for our body. So these large particles can be maximum can be used for our body. That's why these are called as high threshold substances. Which substances can be reabsorption in the low level in our body? That is called as low threshold substances. Example for the low threshold substances is urea and uric acid. So these are the excretory products, not much more need to our body. So that's why some low level need our body. That's why called as low threshold substances. And the final one is the A threshold substances. Which substances do not need our body? So that is the very harmful condition. What is that? Example is the creatinine. So these are the harmful in condition. So these substances do not need our body. So that's why that can be eliminated. So that is called as A threshold substances. So high threshold substances, low threshold substances, and A threshold substances. So after that, in the glomerulus, the gill slits can easily filtration completely blood, and that may be some wastages particles can be entering into next part, that is called as Bowman's capsule, and this urine is also called as primary urine, right? So this is the primary urine can be entering into the next part is that is called as proximal convoluted tubule. So from this proximal convoluted tubules, so this is the nephron tubule structure, the part of the proximal convoluted tubule, and the second one is the Henle's loop. In this Henle's loop, 2 parts is divided. Descending loop is the downstream, and ascending limb is the upper limb, and also the third part is called as DCT, distal convoluted tubule, and final one is the fourth one is the called as CD or collecting duct. So in this separate part, the secretion can be done. So the reabsorption can be done in this process. So now we are seeing in the second side heading is called as selectively reabsorption, right? The first part is the reabsorption can be done in the proximal convoluted tubule. So proximal convoluted tubule, primary urine can be entering into proximal convoluted tubule. So in this, whichever particle or whichever substances can be need our body, that may be reabsorbed from the nephron structure. So what is that seen, Nana? Water. So approximately 80% of the water can be utilized our body. So this is the important for our body. So that can be reabsorption from the proximal convoluted tubule, and also some of the nutrients. So nutrients are the major source of the energy. So that is required for energy for our body. So this is also reabsorbed. And next one, some of the potassium ions. And next one, most important is the glucose and amino acids and proteins and vitamins. So these are the essential to our body. So that's why, so in this proximal convoluted tubule, so these macro molecules or macro substances. What is that macro substances, Nana? Glucose, amino acids, proteins and vitamins is the large particles. So that's why that cannot be entering easily into in our body. So with the help of that is called as secondary active transport. So active transport, what is that active transport? So in that active transport we need some energy in the form of ATP levels. So in this way, glucose, amino acids and proteins and vitamins can be easily reabsorbed from the proximal convoluted tubule into in our body stream and kidney. Clear? And some of the bicarbonates can also be reabsorbed. And next one, which particles is these hydrogen ions and ammonia. Ammonia is the toxic substances in our body. So do not need our body. So that's why that is entering into tubular, nephron tubular. So that is the upper arrow mark indication. So in this proximal convoluted tubule, so the urine is in the condition of isotonic condition. So the urine is in the condition of isotonic condition. Next part. So next one is the reabsorption can be occurred in the descending limb. So in the descending limb, the reabsorption can be very in low level. So in this descending limb, only 5% of the water can be reabsorption, and the next part is called as ascending limb of English loop. In this ascending limb of English loop, specially or distinct two types of parts can be seen. One is the very thin in structure, and the terminal part of the ascending limb is the very thick in structure. So now we are studying about the thin limb of the ascending limb. So in this way, some of the sodium chloride can be passively transported from this ascending limb of the thin stream. And next one is so these are the thick walls present. So this is the impermeable to water. Why? Because the reason is, Nana, so in this ascending limb, the terminal part of the limb is the very thick in structure. So that's why the water can not transport in this region. So this is most important. That's why in this ascending limb, the urine is in hypo condition. So in this descending limb, the water can be absorption. So in this way, the urine can be in hypertonic condition. So in this descending limb, water can be reabsorption. In ascending limb, water cannot be reabsorption due to the thick walls in the ascending limb. Right, Nana? Next one. Third one is the distal convoluted tubule. So this is far away to the Bowman's capsule. That's why called as distal convoluted tubule. So in this distal convoluted tubule, some of the sodiums and water and bicarbonates can be reabsorption. So these sodium and water can be reabsorption. That is in the conditional, in the methods of two hormones can be involved to the reabsorption purpose. What is that hormones, Nana? One is the aldosterone. Where is that aldosterone hormone present? In each and every kidney. So biconvex is there. So outer side of the part is called as cortex and inner side of is called as medullary region. So in this medullary region, the top of the region can be one of the cap-like structure is present, that is called as which type of gland? That is called as very good adrenal gland. So in this adrenal gland, mainly two parts can be divided: adrenal cortex and adrenal medulla is there. So these adrenal cortex directly releasing the one type of hormone that is called as aldosterone. So this aldosterone is the controlling level of the mainly involvement of the reabsorption of the sodium ions and also the secretion of the potassium ions. So if in case the deficiency of aldosterone, or if in case some of the candidates no need any kidneys, so what happens, Nana? So this adrenal cortex is lost. So in this way the aldosterone cannot be synthesis. So in this way the sodium ions cannot be reabsorbed to in our body. So the potassium levels is very high and that may be toxic to our body. So that is called as Addison's disease, and this may be leads to some of the cases, in cases the death recorded can also be recorded. Here, and next one, the second most important hormone is called as ADH. What is ADH, Nana? Antidiuretic hormone. Where is it produced, Nana? Very good. That is called as pituitary gland. Pituitary gland is also known as master of endocrine glands. In this pituitary gland, two distinct regions is present. One is the adrenohypophysis and the second one is the neurohypophysis. These neurohypophysis is mainly releasing the two types of hormones. One is the oxytocin. So this oxytocin importance can be seen in the reproduction. Okay, and now second hormone is called as ADH. So we are studying about that ADH. So these ADH can be produced from the neurohypophysis of the pituitary gland. So what is the function of the ADH? These ADH can be reabsorption of the water. So how much water can be reabsorption in distal convoluted tubule? Approximately 10% of the water can be reabsorption. So if the deficiency of the ADH, what happened, Nana? Just imagine if the deficiency of the ADH, not present of the ADH, so there is no reabsorption of the water. So these water can be maximum level next entering into collecting duct, and this collecting duct is come outside of the water through the urine. So that is called as one disease, important disease, that is the diabetic insipidus. So this is most important for the MCET and NEET bits. What is diabetes insipidus? So the deficiency of the ADH hormone. So there is no secretion of the water. So excess water can be directly released into distal convoluted tubule into collecting duct. This collecting duct directly releasing of the water through the urine. So excess level of the water can be released through the urine. So that is called as diabetes insipidus. Clear? So next one, some of the bicarbonates also can be secretion. So what is the directly entering into nephron tubules? So some of the sodium ions or potassium ions are secretion into tubule, and ammonia is toxic substances that also can be entering into nephron tubules or distal convoluted tubule, and some of the hydrogen ions can also be entering into DCT tubule. Clear, Nana? So now we are going to final one is the collecting duct. So this is the last part of the nephron structure. So in this collecting duct, what happens, Nana? Some of the potassium ions can be reabsorption, and some of the sodium ions, potassium ions and hydrogen ions can be reabsorption, and maximum 4% of the water can be also reabsorption from the collecting duct or CD. So after that, so in this way, in distal convoluted tubule, the urine is also isotonic condition. So in this water absorption can be done. So that's why the urine is in the condition of hypertonic condition. So this is most important, Nana, and I am giving one hint to how to remember that in which place the urine can be in which form. So right. So first is the proximal convoluted tubule and distal convoluted tubule. So in both the urine is isotonic condition. Clear? And the next one is the descending limb. In the descending limb, the urine is the hypertonic condition. Why hypertonic condition? Secretion of the water. Reabsorption of the water, so that's why the urine is in hypertonic condition. And the next part is the ascending limb. So in ascending limb, the urine is the hypotonic condition. Why hypotonic condition, Nana? So in this, the water cannot be reabsorption. So that's why. So in this ascending limb, the urine is the hypotonic condition. And next one, the collecting duct. So the maximum water can be reabsorption and the final stage of the nephron structure. So in this also the hypertonic condition, urine can be released. Isotonic, proximal convoluted tubule and distal convoluted tubule. Hypertonic and hypertonic end. So in between middle is the ascending limb is the just only one hypotonic urine can be formation. Right? So after reabsorption of collecting duct, these waste or toxic substances particle can be entering into Bellin duct, and these can be entering into a major cavity that is called as phylum, and in this phylum's next part that can be entering into ureterus. So in this ureterus that may be entering into urethra. So urethra is the one of the storage of the urine sac that can be present in the lower side of the abdomen region. So in this urine, so approximately in early humans for a day 1 to 1.5 liters of the urine can be released, right? So and the MSAT bit is the how much the pH level of the urine. So pH level is the 6 of the urine. So this is most important for the MSAT and the NEET bits, right? And next one is so this is the ending of the urine formation. Just in briefly I can recall that what we have learned. One is the glomerulus filtration that can be occurred in glomerulus, and maximum blood pressure 60 mm Hg. So against to 60 mm Hg, 32 mm Hg in colloidal osmotic pressure, and against to the capsule pressure is the 18 mm Hg. So 32 plus 18, 50 mm Hg reversible to total hydrostatic pressure. So in this way, so remaining 10% mm Hg is the high level present in the blood pressure. So that may be entering into primary urine, that may be entering into Bowman's capsule. So William Bowman is the one of the scientists. He is explained that importance of the capsule. So that's why his name kind of the Bowman's capsule. And the next one is the proximal convoluted tubule. The reabsorption can be done. So what is that done now? Water can be reabsorption 80%, and some of the nutrients and some of the electrolytes and some of the important glucose, amino acids, proteins and vitamins. Next part, what is that Nana? In Henle's loop. In Henle's loop, descending limb is present. 5% of the water can be reabsorption. And the next one is the ascending limb. In ascending limb, two parts can be seen. One is the thin and the second one is the thick. So in thin, sodium chloride can be passive transport can be occurred, and also in thick area the sodium chloride can be also be transported, but in this way actively transported sodium chloride, and the water cannot be reabsorption. Why? Because the walls is very thick in condition. So in this way, next DCT. So in this way the urine is in the condition of hypotonic condition, and the importance depending on the aldosterone and ADH, these two hormones controlling the reabsorption of the sodium ions as well as water, and the bicarbonates also some of the reabsorption to in our body, and some of the potassium ions and ammonia and hydrogen ions directly secretion into tubules, and the final one is the collecting duct, and potassium hydrogen ions can be, and 4% of the water can be reabsorption. So this is the ending part of the urine formation. So now So these the major excretion can be done with the help of kidneys, and the additional excretory organs also present. What is that additional excretory organs, Nana? Just you tell that answer. So in our body, how to releasing our gases in the form of carbon dioxide. Very good. So these carbon dioxide releasing with the help of lungs. Lungs also one of the excretory organs, right? And the second one is the liver. Liver also one of the secretory organs. Why? Because the excretory organ. Why? Because the after RBC. So how much RBC lifespan? Approximately 120 days. After 120 days, the RBC can be destroyed in liver. So after destroy the RBC, the heme can be formation. These heme, with the help of bile ligaments, the bile ligaments convert to the urochrome. So this urochrome is the most important. So for this urochrome can be adding to the urine. So that's why the urine is in the color of pale yellowish color. So this is the most important for the MSET and also NEET bit. Why is the human urine in the pale yellowish color? That is the answer is the urochrome. And the final one is the additional excretory organ is the skin. So in this skin, two types of glands is present. One is the sweat glands and second one is the sebaceous glands. So in this sweat glands, some excess salts of sodium chlorides that can be released through the sweat glands, and the sebaceous gland that may be releasing the sterols and the hydrocarbons and some of the wax that may be releasing through the sebaceous glands. So right. So if in case we have one doubt, what doubt, Nana? So if in case two kidneys can be failure, what happen? How to do these 180 liters can be filtered? So what happen in our body? So if in case both kidneys cannot be working in condition, so one artificial kidney is also there, that is called as dialyzer. So in this dialyzer, what happen on heme dialysis? What is heme? The blood can be, the main arteriole can be entering into directly to the artificial machine with the help of adding to heparin, and in that cellophane tubules is present. So after that cellophane tubules, the blood can be easily flowing in that machine. So wastages can be collected, some of the urea and uric acid, creatinine can be collected in that machine. So after that anticoagulant heparin can also be added. So after that final, the vein can be entering into our body, attached to our body. So this is approximately, this process can be done in 2 to 6 hours. So right, so this is the artificial kidney, right, Nana? So this is end of the part, urine formation. So now recall what we have learned in previous class and this class. So once again I can recall, we are learning human excretory system. One is the modes of the excretion, that is the ammonotelism and ureotelism and uricotelism. Very good. And the LS of kidney, that is the most important for the 4 marks question, diagram purpose. And the essay question is the structure of the kidney and the nephron of the structure of nephron, that is the essay question previously class. Now today topic is the how to urine formation. So we have learned completely this topic. This is the ending of the human excretory system, and next class we will start with a new chapter. Thank you everybody.